Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. On this GCSE Results Day, goodness me, having worked for 20 years or so with GCSE students, I never find this day at all comfortable. It just stirs up something in me about our whole system. I really want to offer you some values, some practical advice, especially in a way I'm speaking to those of you that have just or are just in the process of opening up results. And it's also for those of you that are in the hangar, waiting year 10, year 11, year 9, even GCSEs, this massive deal. It's made in the media and it's made in culture and society. It's so skewed and so seemingly unfair, and it's just so unbalanced, this whole sense that this is a way of defining young people, or a way of judging young people, and a way of them judging themselves, a way of their parents judging them. It's a difficult day for me personally, to see all of that playing out, and my heart goes out to everybody. I don't think without the empowerment that I've worked all my life really to try to bring to this circumstance for families, it can be that there aren't very many winners in this system, even those who get the great grades. The pressure's on. I'm going to reference Michael Sandel, who wrote a book called The Tyranny of Merit, and it's about the education system. He says that his students arrive at Harvard and he finds that they are psychically wounded. And I'm laughing, but I'm really not laughing. They arrive absolutely spent just through the process of trying to get into a university like that. When he asks them open-ended philosophical kind of questions, they don't understand, what to do with that. Is it going to be in the test, or is this part of our course? That kind of thing. They're just so limited. They're so done in by this process. I'm a maths and English GCSE tutor from 20 years back. That's what I still do now in the groups. I'm in the Young Fire Academy. I still teach maths. I love maths and I love English. I love essay writing. I love language. I love so much about what this opportunity is for young people to learn in that way. If you love your subject, or if you can be enabled to take it on for yourself and you can find the joy in any subject, then every subject then becomes relevant, and no subject otherwise is relevant. I don't think there's any subject that's really needed, even the maths and Englishes that the system has put in as like non-negotiables. Okay, I understand literacy, numeracy, all this kind of thing, but the world is changing so fast. I'm open even to those not being a necessary grind for someone, especially when the cost is their self-esteem, their confidence, their well-being, to grind them through maths maths or English. But anyway, I know that's a bit of an extreme. It is largely appropriate for most students to do those two subjects. And I see the great opportunity in these subjects when the learner has been trusted and empowered to come at them in their own way, when the learner really takes on responsibility for that learning and takes ownership for that journey, which is very hard for some young people to do with the pressure on them from us as parents, and the pressure on them from school, and the pressure which we can see everywhere today in the press from society. When I'm teaching maths and working on maths with students in the groups, it's problem solving. It can be so fun. There's a lot to be learned around it, a lot of mindset coaching that I do around just learning maths, because there's so much needed before you start teaching someone maths for them to click into place in this day and age. Why bother doing it in the first place? What's the point even of going to school? How to manage their relationships with a teacher, say the maths teacher, and with their peers, and their relationship with school in general, their relationship with the whole culture of pressure and intensity around you've got to do this, and the lack of choice. So all of that, once that has been addressed in some way and opened up in some way in an empowering forum, which we hold in the Young Fire Academy, then we get into the nuts and bolts of maths. Then it's like, okay, wow, actually, so many of your mistakes are coming in from poor processing. So, pretty much every student I've seen out of thousands in the last 20 years has like some tightening that they can make on how they do the basic kind of exam technique. And for me, that's kind of thrilling. Like there are a list of instructions or invitations that over months we can consolidate that teachers have been saying for hundreds of years. But, if the students aren't listening, then who cares? Who cares when a teacher says, hey, read the questions in one ear and out the other, or like, show you're working, write everything down, use pen and paper to support you. These are all the things that I know actually bring maths to life. But, without the right setup, like I say, without that buy-in from the student, without them really appreciating and respecting you as a teacher or this system and seeing what it can actually do for them, without that empowerment of the system, it's kind of all falls on deaf ears. So that's my obsession with maths, is with optimal functioning. And of course, if you start learning maths like that and putting your standards up at 100%, if you know the topic, not like, hey, I got 70, great. If you know the topic with maths, you should get every single one right. That's what we're training ourselves to do, to not be sloppy, to not be too quick, too slapdash maths. Okay, English, the point of English, wow, is like how to think. It's an awesome challenge to write an essay. So whether it's English language or literature, it's an incredible challenge for a young person to be, or for any person to be asked a straight question about a text and to be asked to formulate a clear answer. So for me, English and essay writing is how to think. It's like how to use your mind in an effective way when you're asked something that is pressurizing. So, this is a life skill. It's so obvious in the workplace, wherever you go. You're going to have these kind of demands, and you're going to be honing that skill to respond to emails or respond to colleagues or your seniors in a way that's honoring of their time. So they don't have to wade through what we see in so many GCSE essays. It's like just a load of kind of a download of absolute garbage, unstructured, not garbage, but everything they can think of that's apparently going to win them points in the grades, which is a major problem, of course, learning like that. And for that reason, just hoop jumping. But yeah, if they can actually learn to settle into their power to actually think, face an essay question, for me, it's all happening really in the first kind of 5 or 10 minutes of that process. Like, can you actually come up with any ideas? What have you got to draw on? What really responds to the question, And for me, that's a thrilling journey and thing for any student to learn in the right context, in the right atmosphere, in the right relationship, and with their buy-in. But in reality, someone who is driven and purposeful and who knows what they want to do and has got that intrinsic motivation to go after it, it's amazing what doors are now opening for young people in universities, in sixth form colleges, in employment, because we've seen over the last 10 years and more how great driven, what the difference is there between someone who's just been through the system and got a load of empty grades. Some people it's a bit like that, and someone who shows up ready to go. There's actually far more going for young people who know what they're about, basically. So that's the be all and end all for me, is to really, and the way that I do that, and the way I would suggest you do that as parents, is to stay really close with them, to give them, to trust them, to be open with them, to allow them time and space to find themselves, not to judge, criticize, blame them, not to pressurize them, just to allow them to step into whatever it is that they're going to step into, to allow them to take on responsibility for their own lives. You cannot do it for them. So, that's a good thing, because it puts them in a position where they really are responsible for GCSEs and for everything else that they decide to engage in life. So, it's over to them at this point in their teens. And of course, as a mentor, I know that that's a role that's really powerful to come into families, and for me not to be the parent. And I know I can help a great deal with parents and teens in this kind of way, to make sure that that handover is done in a really effective way, and that everyone's happy and settled and close in your relationships, and that then also there is a good result at the end of it. Often a surprising result, surprising direction that you wouldn't have been able to predict for your child, but that they found themselves. They're going in that direction. You just got to sit back as a parent and marvel. We want them to find themselves in that way, and we want to empower them, whatever that looks like, their own love, their own purpose, and their own honed ability. The bedrock for that is their own confidence to go forth, and their own sense of safety. This safety at home, and sense of just like, okay, I've got the platform I need to then go out and be brave and start going in a particular direction and making my own decisions about how that's going to be.